morning and happy Saturday, you guys. It is Amanda and Baron with Kickin'Cancer Cares on KSLM Radio, 104.3 FM and 1220 AM. And our sponsor for this first half is Odd Moe's Pizza. I don't know about you guys, but I overstuffed myself over the holidays.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Yeah,
just a little
just
bit.
a tiny bit. I mean, I was good, but I was also naughty.
Yeah.
And so I'm going back to getting the Green Monster from Odd Moe's, and I'll probably do that, the Reggie
The
Veggie.
Reggie, isn't that great?
Just to fill my body with all of those good, healthy, fresh ingredients.
Well, you know what I know
I'm
what I'm gonna do around my house is today's the 28th of December, which means New Year's Eve is coming up. I know what I'm gonna eat on New Year's Eve. I'm just gonna call on Moe's and have some pizza as my wife and I just binge watch some show. Right? I mean, New Year's Eve is an easy solution.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. We're all having Odd Moe's Pizza for New Year's. Bringing in the New Year's right.
Exactly.
Alrighty.
Well, do you remember our guest last week?
Yes, Andrew. Yes, from Courtney's.
So
house?
he's the executive director of Courtney's Place. And this is so amazing, Robin. I met him through Victoria Shin, and he's the executive director of Courtney's Place, which is it's an apartment housing, 36 units for vets. Homeless vets now have a place to go, but it's permanent housing. It's not transitional housing, right? Mm-hmm. And so we had this amazing discussion about what current vets are going through in Iraq. And those burn pits, that was scary to talk about. Mm-hmm. But what they do is, you think about Robin's in Albany. So you think about Albany, and you've got some sanitation service there that picks up your garbage and takes it someplace, right? They don't have that when they build a base in a desert in Iraq. So they dig a big, huge pit, and they throw all their trash in it, including the human feces, because there's no place else for it to go. Mm-hmm. And they use airplane jet fuel to light it on fire. And then you have 20-year-old boys who like to poke fires
and stay warm at night.
Stay warm. And so they're inhaling these fumes that are coming off from plastic burning and feces and everything, and they're called burn pits. But the amount of cancer that's coming out of vets currently because of that is just unreal.
I mean, he made a really good point, because even the sand, he was like, even the sand is just full of cancer with how much chemicals and everything is in it, because they dig holes and go to the restroom, they dig holes and do burn pits and everything. So
well, and historically, if you look back through the hundreds and hundreds of years, that region has been at war for a long time.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
A long time.
Exactly.
And so the sand itself is toxic.
Yes.
It was just a really interesting discussion.
It was a good one.
But the one I loved was when he told about that one vet that went to Newport and had that wonderful, wonderful end-of-life experience.
Yeah.
And then came back and died. Mm-hmm. He had stage 4 cancer. Mm-hmm. And he's like, the chemo just feels like crap. So they went to Newport. They had a wonderful event there. And I'm just going to tell listeners right now, if you are not following us on YouTube, go to YouTube, Kickin'Cancer Productions, subscribe. Go back and find that episode, because there are some pictures. There's just ways you can see what this vet experienced before he died from cancer.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I think they do great work with what they're doing.
Well, I'm going to circle back to my book, 100 Disease-Fighting Foods, but I think I might have one this week that you do like.
Okay.
She wasn't really a big fan when I brought in okra.
Oh, I love okra.
Oh, so I've never tried it. And then the lentils was an odd one.
Well, I tried really hard to find you some pickled okra.
You really did. I'll give it to you. And I've actually searched myself.
They're hard to find.
Not a thing.
No.
Not a thing.
And she wasn't a fan of oysters when I brought that in.
Mm-mm.
Well, I'm not either.
Yeah.
It seems like okra on the West Coast is kind of like a novelty thing.
It is a novelty thing.
I think so.
Well, today's is Parmesan cheese.
Oh.
Anything cheese.
You choked her up.
I guess I had her at cheese.
I'll take it.
I know. I told you would like this one.
I incorporate that every day.
Right?
So it says, dig into the cheese plate. Parmesan and other fermented cheeses supply both probiotics and prebiotics. Prebiotics feed your good bacteria, and probiotics are healthy live bacteria that boost the health of your microbiome.
Okay.
A well-balanced gut can offer protection against a range of troubles, including type 2 diabetes, obesity, heart disease, autoimmune conditions, and cancer.
Okay.
Eat your Parmesan cheese.
I eat so much cheese, it's probably not good.
Just take it off the fridge.
Yeah.
Like a candy bar.
Yeah.
I do. I know I don't say it right. The charcuterie board, or I don't know how to. Charcuterie. I eat some sort of a charcuterie board nightly.
Nightly.
Yeah.
Nightly.
I love cheese, and I have these multi-grain crackers that are like full with flaxseed and different chives, and they're so
Crispy breads.
good. Yeah. And then prosciutto meat
Well,
on top of it with a little balsamic vinegar glaze.
Oh my gosh. I think I'm going to go to
We just
her
need to
house
go-
tonight.
You know, one of the things I'm just super proud of that this show has done is we've used a phrase, Robin, that you save yourself, then each one teach one.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of stuff we talked about, Amanda made changes, and then your husband Bo made changes.
Big time.
Your husband's going to love the fact that your little charcuterie board is actually
healthy.
is healthy.
Yes.
He'll be happy with that news.
He will, because he loves them. He eats them with me every night.
Well, the other thing we've been doing, Robin, is we've been shouting out some of the people that are finding us on social media. When Ashlie gets done and we throw their YouTube up, if they go in and they find us and they comment, they say we love what you're doing. Well, I have two of them for you today.
Okay.
Now, the one is quite intriguing because it's from Kenya.
Oh, where Jackie's been.
Yes.
Yes.
And it was almost immediately after Ashlie put our YouTube up. Mm-hmm. This lady, whose name is Eunice, says, "I love your show."
Oh,
From
I love
Kenya.
that.
From Kenya.
That's cool.
And the other one is in Los Angeles now, and I hope I say her name right. It's Russian. I think it's Ivanova.
Ivanova, that's how I.
Yeah.
Okay.
But when I reached out and asked, what's your address, so we could send something to her, we have a sticker that looks like California. She's in L.A. Her parents are in Manhattan, New York, but they escaped the Russia war to come to New York.
Oh, okay.
And then she's the CEO of a trading company, so then she went to Manhattan.
Okay.
So our two shout-outs are actually international in nature.
That's cool.
One from Kenya, one from Russia.
That's really cool.
Via Los Angeles.
Yes.
Our message is going global rapidly. And you're really going to like my update.
Okay.
We've been talking about this Russ Rocks Rock concert that's coming up. Mm-hmm. I can now tell you the final piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
It's the Courtyard Marriott in Corvallis,
All right.
and it's February the 15th.
Yes.
So it's the Russ Rocks Rock concert on February the 14th. Tickets will be $100. Mm-hmm. There will be a way to purchase those tickets very, very soon. There's a band that's based in Monmouth, and their band's name is Kickstar.
Okay.
And they do a lot of 70s, 80s type music. Tons of people are going to help sponsor a shirt that has their logos on the back of the shirt. Mm-hmm. And I'm getting a lot of people saying, can we donate a basket? So you can show up wearing your Russ Rocks shirt and bid on an auction item as you listen to music.
Okay.
And next week, our guest on the show is going to be Russ.
Perfect. I love it. Now, but there's also the one that's prior to that one. So don't.
Yes.
Will you shout that one out also?
Yeah. So that was the piece we're missing was Corvallis, but
Right.
the other one is January 24th, and this one's even funner because it's the Russ Rocks Rock concert at the Rec.
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's a mouthful.
But it's the Rec Bowling Alley in
Yeah.
Kaiser, and the band at that one is called Infamous Soul, and that one is free to the public.
Yeah.
And there will be other ways you can support as well. But one of the big things is, and I'm going to let Russ give you a bigger update next week when he comes in, but here's what I can tell the listeners. Russ's cancer started in the bottom of his foot. Moved up his leg. They tried to stop it when it got to his groin. They thought they had it stopped, but then it got to his lungs, and he contacted me about a month or two ago, and he said it got to his brain. Mm-hmm. And I was seriously concerned.
Same.
I mean,
Same.
this is the last Saturday in December. I did not think he was going to make it till the end of the year.
Right.
He will be our guest next week.
That's so exciting.
The tumors in his brain are gone,
Wow.
and the tumors in his lungs are gone.
That's impressive.
He's
God
an
is
amazing
good.
man.
Yes.
I love him dearly.
Yeah. I mean, we honored him last year, and then we asked him to join the staff. He's been kind of our community outreach person. He just goes everywhere shouting out Kicking Cancer.
That's awesome.
So Russ is our update for this week.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Good update. Well, the biggest reason I wanted Robin to come in is we have been talking about this amazing thing that's coming up. I have a whole stack of flyers here.
Yes, you do.
It's the Adult Pathways program. But before we get deeper into this, I want Robin to circle back to her own story. It's been probably 2 years since you told your story.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Has
wow.
it been that long?
I know. We were at a disc golf tournament on a golf course.
Right.
Oh, right.
And Robin was our guest at the golf course. That's when you told your story the first time.
Okay.
It's been a while.
Yeah, that is fair.
So tell us your cancer story and how that inspired you to start Pathways. And tell the listeners how you unfortunately met me.
Unfortunately. Well, let's start back
Fortunately.
at that. Okay, my cancer story. Well, mine was really simple. I had a mammogram, and they found it. And so it was, I had the mammogram in March. By May, I had a lumpectomy.
So did you feel any sort of symptoms?
Nothing.
What
It
made
was
you want to get the
so
mammogram?
Small.
Just
my yearly.
Okay.
My yearly.
Okay.
And so I went, and in between, my doctor told me, I was pretty a low stage. So that was wonderful.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't have to have chemo. I did have radiation, which is just as bad as chemo. I just don't lose my hair. But in the meantime,
Thank goodness.
I know. And in the meantime, I have 2 children. Now they're in their 20s, but they were teens.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a son that, at that point in time, growing up, he was really addicted to my hair because that was his stable part of his life, was my hair.
Okay.
And I came home and I sat my kids down and I said, all right, I have something to tell you. Now, my daughter is now a doctor, veterinarian, but a doctor, so she could handle things better.
Right.
So I did say I didn't know if I was going to go through chemo at that time. I didn't know if I was going to lose my hair. And I promised my son he could pick my wig out so that he could participate with me.
Yeah, it could be a part of it.
So otherwise, I wouldn't have known how he would have taken that.
Right.
So as I went through, I had group sessions. I met with other people, and they were telling me how their children were handling it and not so good.
Mm-hmm.
So I started researching some statistics, and there's a huge amount of suicides among these kids. Alcohol, drugs, and I really felt. So I created a program called Pathways.
Yeah.
During my recovery, actually, and what that is.
What time frame was your recovery? Do you remember what years?
The cancer was in 2017.
So like 2018, you were kind of creating this concept?
No, in 2017, while I was going through the radiation and getting back on my feet.
Well, and the reason that I wanted to bring up the time frame is it was 2017 when Brenda came to visit me at Christmas time.
Okay.
So it was right now, but 7 years ago, Brenda comes to visit me at Christmas time. She's telling me her whole journey. Didn't realize how much the times was going to match up with Robin. And then in 2018 was when we did our first Go Team, which was Go Team Brenda. And that became the inspiration for where we're at now. Fast forward to June of 2019, and Cheryl, who's on our board, had met me at an event, and she says, can you find a way to help my friend, Rachel? So we worked with Cheryl. We did this amazing walk down in Corvallis, and one of Cheryl's other friends was Robin.
And now I'm stuck to him permanently.
I'll pray for you.
But I remember after the walk, we talked briefly at the walk, and then we went down and we had some time to just visit. And back then, I was just literally word vomiting everything on Robin. I was like, it was. I was like, she was like, when he takes a breath, I'll try to talk.
I think I got about 5 questions in about an hour.
I believe you.
Because I was just so excited.
I know. You have a lot of passion for what you do, and you want to try to get all the information out as fast as you can.
I'm better now than I was back then.
Yeah.
But when we got all done, she's telling about Pathways. And I'm just thinking how valuable that program is. And I had just spent 6-7 months going through the laborious process of creating a nonprofit. And I said, I will point you in the right direction. But what I really think should happen, Robin, is we got to find a way to take what your idea and incorporate it into Kicking Cancer.
Cancer, yeah.
Yes.
And that's really how...
Because they can, go side by side.
So we began doing a lot of work during 2019. I mean, this logo, it's hard to see it on here, but this little tiny logo of Pathways, this was a concept that Robin and I created together.
I love that.
I mean, this is Robin's vision of Pathways. We just managed to create a logo for it.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And so we had the whole thing figured out. Like, okay, great, let's just start this thing, and then 2020 hits.
Oh, yes. And it just ruined all our plans for 2 years.
You know, everything we had to support wasn't going to happen during COVID protocols.
Right.
But we held on to this belief together that once all of this stuff gets done, we can go back and revisit.
Yes.
Right? And so we came back, we revisited, and I was so excited that we had a super successful one all of this year with Roxanne and Silas.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've got another one planned for next year with Morgan's granddaughter, Aurora. But I want to jump forward a little bit here because Ozzy had passed, and we were both there when we gave the check out to their parents, right? We were both, I remember calling the board and going, this little boy's not going to make it till his birthday. And we were all pretty devastated.
He was an amazing, amazing child.
He was.
And then he made it to his birthday. And then he made it to July. And then he made it to August. And then he passed in September.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Mom and Dad aren't talking to us. And I said to Robin, I said, these parents are stuck. And she said, and again, we started collaborating ideas. I said, how do we create a Pathways program for adults? And that's how this Adult Pathways program began.
Yeah.
And I was already thinking about that because I certified in grief and trauma right before then.
Yes.
And I was working with some adults in my own business. So when he brought that up, I jumped at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we sat down together. I think I showed this to you last week, a week before, right? Rob and I spent, probably an hour about a month ago literally designing the curriculum for the Adult Pathways program. And, you know, in this last little part of this first episode, what I'd like you to do, Robin, is talk about these little T's, these little traumas, and there's 5 of them, that by themselves aren't probably a big deal, but enough of them combined together can become a big T. And so I'll just hit them, and then I'll let you talk. There's a loss of a job. There is divorce. There is bankruptcy, financial trauma. There's disease, cancer, and then there's death. So I'll put this in front of you, but just kind of hit on these little T's and how this all relates to this bigger program.
So the little T's, well, some of these could be big T's.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
Like death and disease, those are big.
Those are big T's.
And same with divorce.
Yeah.
It's all how it was handled and where you're at in your development in your life. There's still small T's. I mean, having a little fender bender. Somebody hit and ran my car. My car. That was a trauma. That's a little T.
Yeah.
Never caught the person. Right? My son was in an accident a couple of weeks ago. That's a little T.
Yeah.
It wasn't about me, but I freaked out.
Yeah.
And, you know, so it's these little things in life where you just all of a sudden just go like that when you start getting a little stressed. And you add those up in your life, and pretty soon you've created this story which creates this really traumatizing event in your life.
Yeah.
Which is the big T. You know, and death is one of the big T's, because grief is part of that.
Yeah.
In all trauma, grief runs throughout. You know, my son's accident. I had to shell out over almost $800 for brand new tires.
Yeah.
Well, that's $800 at that time I didn't have.
Right.
So that's a grief, which creates a little trauma, which will be added into it.
Right.
So, and people do not recognize that these little things in your life, grief and trauma, are interrelated. And, you know, and how we handle them is how we move on in our lives and how we present ourselves in lives of other people. So,
and if I go back to Ozzy's parents, who kind of became our inspiration for this program, we had the pleasure of having both John and Shiloh in the studio.
Yeah.
And Ozzy was still with us at that conversation. And you remember how traumatized they were in studio.
Oh, yeah. Very.
And then they called us from Kentucky after Ozzy passed.
Mm-hmm.
And they were processing it, but they were still, you could still hear the trauma in their voice over
very
the
much
phone,
so.
right? And we really want to be there to help, not just John and Shyla, but parents.
Yeah.
They're traumatized, and no, we're not going to little T. This is a big.
Yeah, this is a big T.
Ozzy's cancer was a big T in their life.
Oh, yeah.
Ozzy's passing was a bigger T in their life, and they hadn't got past the first T, then they had to deal with the second T.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Even
then
in
they
our
just sat.
honoring evening, Shyla just grabbed me and sobbed
Yes.
for 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And, and that was still almost 6 months after he had passed. She hadn't even started to heal.
Right.
Well, and you remember 2 years ago, Ozzy was at the honor evening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it looked like he was doing great.
It did.
And then
he was
last
running
year,
around.
He was running around. He just like a good, healthy little kid.
Yeah.
And then last year, he had passed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot of trauma in that family's life over the course
Yeah.
of 1 full year.
Absolutely.
So that became like the motivation for
Right.
this.
Okay. So for an adult to take this class, does it have to be cancer related at all?
No,
Okay.
it can be anything
Okay.
because your life has these in it no matter what.
No matter what.
And I'm
And-
glad you brought that up because you go, and I guarantee it right now, if you're watching YouTube, Ashlie is guiding you how to sign up.
Yes.
What she's doing on YouTube, she's literally just watch. She'll guide you how to sign up. It's $199 for a 7-week course, and we're going to get into the course the second half of the show. But it doesn't have to be cancer related,
It does not.
and it is done through Zoom.
Okay.
So if you're in Kenya, if you are in Los Angeles, if you are in Manhattan, New York, to the ones we shout out, if you are in Yuma, Arizona, it doesn't really matter where you're at. You will have to account for time zones, but this is a Zoom course, and it's our vision that we'll have 30, 40, 50 people in this course.
Yeah.
So it's my belief, and it's my belief, that this trauma and the grief within people, if they do not really work through that, I believe they can create the cancer in their lives.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to stop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I want their lives to be successful and easy and effortlessly and happy.
Yeah. Start healing people from the inside out.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
Well, and I'll give you a good example, and I can't prove any of this, but it's just my own personal belief that one of these T's is bankruptcy or financial. It's a financial trauma, okay? If I take you back to 2015, Brenda's in Arizona. They had moved there because her husband at that time was kind of a venture capitalist, and he was like helping people. If you want to build a subdivision, someone has to negotiate the price of the dirt so you can come in and then start building houses. And that's what he did, is he negotiated the price of the dirt to then have people build subdivisions because Phoenix was growing like crazy.
Right.
The market crashes in 2008, and they blamed him for that downturn in the market. It wasn't his fault, it was the market.
Right.
But they were pulled into $1 million lawsuit. Brenda and her
boy.
husband were in $1 million lawsuit. And that's trauma.
Oh, yeah.
And that's trauma. And Brenda didn't have something like this to process that trauma. My own personal belief, that trauma triggered cell growth in her body.
Yeah.
And so if you,
Perfect analogy would be lighting a firecracker and then putting it in your hand and closing your hand.
Yeah.
What's
Yes.
going to happen?
Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. And
Or
again, I
trauma.
can't prove what I just said, but that's just my belief.
Right.
So what we want to do in the second half of the show is kind of walk you through some of the weeks so you kind of get an idea what
Yeah.
these weeks are like, because there are emotions involved, and Robin's going to go deeper into that.
Okay. You've got me intrigued.
Good.
All right. Good.
I want to see you there.
Okay, you guys, a huge shout out to our sponsor, Oddmost Pizza. I love that he's got passion for cancer and just health and bringing awareness and just everything he does. He's such a pillar in our community. So I love that he helps sponsor this show and does so much other stuff. So if you guys are looking for dinner tonight or for New Year's Eve to bring in the new year, they
And
deliver.
don't forget if it delivers.
Yeah, they
And they'll deliver the beer too.
Yes, that's right. What are the types of flavors they have?
Oh, I don't.
Cider, wine, and beer. They have a lot.
Cider, wine, and beer. So many
Ashley's on
different
their
kinds.
staff too, so she'll
Yep,
tell you.
so she knows. But Go check them out if you have not yet. You are truly missing out. They've got all these. I like their white garlic sauce that
so
they
good.
do.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, it's so good, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So you guys give them a try and see what they're all about. They've got amazing appetizers. I love their potato poppers. They've got mojos. They've got all these different types of sauces.
Wings.
Wings,
Yeah.
yes, they're hurts
twice.
Hurts twice.
Hey, just
sauce,
let
if you
that
like it
phrase
hot.
sink in for a second. You'll understand why it's called hurts twice.
So go grab some pizza from them. You will not be disappointed. They are the best in Oregon, for sure, hands down, and probably other places, but I haven't tried pizza other places, so I can't attest to that. All right, we'll be right back with more. Stay tuned, you guys.
Thanks, guys.